Welcome to the Huberman Lab podcast, everyone. I'm Andrew Huberman, and today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of studying and learning. We're going to uncover the science-backed strategies that can optimize your learning, whether you're a student, a professional, or just someone who loves expanding their knowledge. Now, before we get started, let me assure you, this isn't about cramming or finding shortcuts. This is about understanding how your brain learns best and using that knowledge to make your study sessions more efficient and effective. Let's address the elephant in the room, the myth of learning styles. You've probably heard people say they're visual learners or auditory learners, right? Well, the scientific evidence overwhelmingly points to the fact that while we might have preferences, those preferences don't dictate how well we learn through different mediums. The key to effective learning, it turns out, lies in how well we can offset our brain's natural tendency to forget. Think of it this way. Every new piece of information we encounter is like a sandcastle on a beach. Without reinforcement, the tide of forgetting will wash it away. Our goal is to build those sandcastles into fortresses. We want to solidify the information in our minds, making it resistant to the erosion of forgetting. So how do we achieve this? By understanding the two critical steps of neuroplasticity, the process that allows our brains to change and learn. Step 1 is active engagement. This doesn't mean just passively reading a textbook or sitting through a lecture. It means actively focusing your attention, engaging with the material, and telling your brain, hey, this is important. Remember this. Think back to my earlier mention of forgetting. What did I say helps prevent forgetting? Right. Testing yourself. Even the simple act of recalling information shortly after you've learned it can significantly reduce forgetting. It's like highlighting those neural pathways, making them stand out from the background noise of everyday information. Now, before you start stressing about pop quizzes, let's be clear. Testing in this context isn't about evaluation or grades. It's about actively engaging with the material, identifying knowledge gaps, and reinforcing what you've learned. It's a learning tool, not a judgment tool. And the beauty of self-testing is that you can tailor it to your needs and preferences. Flashcards, summarizing information in your own words, teaching the material to someone else. These are all forms of active recall that can dramatically boost your retention. But active engagement is only half the equation. Remember those neural pathways we're trying to solidify? Well, that solidification process primarily occurs during a kinesis. You guessed it, sleep. Sleep is like the ultimate overnight construction crew for your brain. During deep sleep, especially during the REM phase, your brain replays and reinforces the neural patterns associated with what you learned while you were awake. This is why pulling all-nighters or sacrificing sleep for extra study time is counterproductive. You're essentially depriving your brain of the very process it needs to consolidate memories. So, prioritize sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night, especially after a day of intense learning. Your brain will thank you for it. Now let's talk about some practical study strategies that leverage these principles of active engagement and sleep-dependent consolidation. Firstly, schedule dedicated study blocks. Treat them like important appointments that you can't reschedule. Find a quiet space. Eliminate distractions. Yes, that means putting your phone away. And create an environment conducive to focus. Secondly, break up your study sessions. Instead of marathon cramming, aim for shorter, focused sessions interspersed with breaks. Your brain, like any other muscle, benefits from periods of rest and recovery. Thirdly, embrace active recall. As we've discussed, testing yourself is one of the most potent tools in your learning arsenal. Find creative ways to quiz yourself, whether it's through flashcards, summarizing information, or teaching the material to someone else. Fourthly, don't underestimate the power of story and emotion. We tend to remember information that's emotionally charged or embedded within a compelling narrative. So, try to connect with the material on a personal level, find ways to make it relevant to your life, or create stories around the concepts you're learning. And finally, consider interleaving different subjects or concepts. Switching between different topics can actually enhance your overall learning by forcing your brain to work harder to retrieve information and make connections between seemingly disparate ideas. Think of it like cross-training for your brain. Just as cross-training strengthens different muscle groups, interleaving strengthens different neural pathways, leading to more robust and flexible learning. Now let's revisit that idea of testing as a study tool and explore why it's so effective. Traditional studying often relies on passive rereading or highlighting, which can create an illusion of mastery. We see the same information repeatedly and start to feel familiar with it. But familiarity isn't the same as understanding or being able to apply the information. Testing, on the other hand, forces us to actively retrieve information from memory. It's like shining a spotlight on the areas where our understanding is shaky, prompting us to revisit the material and strengthen those connections. And here's another fascinating aspect of testing. It seems to have a unique effect on our brains, enhancing our ability to retain information over long periods. Research has shown that students who were tested on material shortly after learning it performed significantly better on a delayed test, weeks or even months later, compared to students who simply restudied the material. This suggests that testing creates a more durable memory trace, making the information more resistant to forgetting. So, embrace testing as an integral part of your learning process. And remember, it's not about perfection. It's about actively engaging with the material and using your mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This all sounds great, but what about those subjects or skills that we're just not naturally drawn to? How do we stay motivated when the material feels dry or overwhelming? This is where the concept of aspirational motivation comes in. It's about connecting your learning to a larger goal, a vision of your future self that goes beyond grades or immediate rewards. For example, if you're struggling to stay motivated in a particularly challenging course, remind yourself of your long-term career aspirations and how mastering this material will bring you one step closer to achieving those goals. Visualization can be a powerful tool here. Close your eyes and vividly imagine yourself succeeding in your chosen field, using the knowledge and skills you're currently working so hard to acquire. The key is to tap into the emotional power of your aspirations, using them as fuel to push through those inevitable moments of doubt or frustration. And remember, learning is a journey, not a race. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and don't be afraid to seek help or guidance from others when you need it. We are all works in progress, and the pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong adventure. So, embrace the challenge, experiment with different learning strategies, and never stop exploring the vast potential of your amazing brain.